No, this is not an RC video, but it was in my brain and it does have to do with flying. Anyways, this is the story of the little corvid, or as I used to call it, little one.
What's up, little buddy? How you doing, huh? You doing okay? Mommy, daddy around the bugs. Some food, I'd give you something. Actually, you know what? I had a worm earlier.
So one day last spring, I was out in the garden and I needed to water some plants. I went to get the water hose, which is located under a big pepper tree next to the house. As I leaned over to turn the spigot on, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something jump up at me with its mouth wide open. It startled me, of course. I flinched and stepped back. When I looked to see what it was, I saw this little one sitting there. I leaned over to take a look at it, and it just stared back at me. It was obviously a baby crow that either fell out or was pushed out of its nest, a common occurrence in our yard this time of year. I surmised it thought I was its parents come to feed it, and that's why it jumped up at me. As I said, this is a common occurrence in our yard. There's a family of crows that live in and around the pepper tree, so every few springs we find a baby crow running around the yard. Now I know as a rule of thumb we're supposed to leave fledglings where they are, and this little one still looked plenty healthy. As I said, it jumped up to meet me, and as you can hear, its parents are screaming at me to leave it alone, which means they're still caring for it. I figure I'd take a video of it to show my family, and that would be that.
Okay, I'll leave it alone for a little bit.
Over the next few days, I kept checking in on it just to make sure it was doing all right. After a few days, I started to worry a little. I noticed it was sitting in the same spot the whole time and that it was sitting on its backside the whole time as well. As you can hear, the parents are still getting mad at me for getting near it, so they're still watching it. Usually though, fledglings are running around chasing their parents, darting in and out of bushes, exploring. It was pooping, which is a good sign, but it was just sitting in its own poop, hiding behind the aloe plant. Its tail feathers looked frayed and its backside looking raw and red. I decided to take some water out to it just in case. As soon as I placed the bowl down and slid it toward the bird, it just plopped over on its side like a comedic pratfall. I got worried for a second, then I figured it was just playing dead. It was still a bit worrying though, as fledglings usually screech, run, and hide. They don't fall over and let you get this close. In any case, you can see that its behind is red and smeared with poop, and its tail feathers are shorter than normal. Then, as soon as I stood up to film from the top, it got back onto its feet. So that convinced me it was playing dead. A couple of days later, it hadn't moved from that spot yet, and it still wasn't walking. Although I could hear the parents around, I never actually saw them near little one or even on the ground, so I had no idea if they were still feeding it on a regular basis. I decided to take some raw egg out to it. The same thing happened. As soon as I got close, it fell on the ground. As soon as I moved away, it got back up. I know birds this small still rely on their parents to feed them, but I figured if it was starving, it might make the effort. I don't think it ever ate any of the egg. The night after that, it started raining pretty hard. I went outside to check on it, and sure enough, it was sitting in the rain in that same spot soaking wet. I felt bad for it, so I made a little makeshift shelter out of cardboard. I balled up an old towel, placed it on the bottom, and slid it in front of the aloe plant along the fence. I came back an hour later, and to my surprise, it was sitting on the towel inside of the shelter out of the rain. A couple of more days went by and it wasn't looking good. It looked weak and a little wobbly. I hadn't seen it stand on its feet for several days. I was worried about it, but I was still reluctant to interfere. Then I was in the kitchen one morning around 8 when I heard the sound of several crows going crazy coming from outside. They were screeching and cawing very aggressively. The water spigot and the spot where the fledgling were are located directly below the kitchen window. The back door is maybe 12 to 15 feet from the kitchen window. I went to the back door and looked out the window. I saw 2 crows on the ground not 5 feet from the door. There was another one on a small coffee table we have near the door, and 2 more were on a low branch maybe 10 feet off the ground. They were all losing their minds, jumping and flapping and cawing loudly. I made my way back to the kitchen window and looked down to see if little one was still sitting in the same spot. I couldn't find it. I went back to the door, and as soon as I got there, I saw a cat in stalking mode 6 or 7 feet away, creeping toward a spot to the right of the door. I recognized the cat. It lives in the neighborhood and has birthed and raised a couple of different litters in our yard. The adult crows were still cawing and fluttering, trying to scare it away, but it wasn't working. The cat kept advancing. I instinctively opened the door and stepped outside, and the cat froze for a second and then ran off. The adult crows flew up into a tree and waited to see what happened. I walked over to the spot where little one had been, but I couldn't find it. I got a bit worried, but I figured if the cat had already caught something, it would not have been in stalking mode. I walked back towards the back door, and that's when I saw it. It was next to the back door stoop, trying frantically to jump up onto it. As I got closer, I could see a look of sheer terror on its face. Its eyes and mouth were wide open, and it was squeaking and squawking as it was desperately trying to get up onto the stoop. Now, the top of the stoop is not a good place to hide from the cat. It probably would have been better off trying to hide in the bushes or under the aloe plant. As I said previously, I was checking on it at least once a day, and I always came in and out the same back door. The only thing I can assume is that little one had noticed this. Crows are very smart, and was trying to get onto the stoop to try to get inside away from the cat. My heart instantly cracked, and I had to run inside and find a crate and some old towels, go back outside and scoop it up. Previously, as you saw, it would let me get pretty close to it, but if I tried to touch it, it would hiss squawk at me. This time it made no noise or attempt to escape when I tried to actually pick it up. And when I set it in the crate, it just sat back down onto its backside. I figured it was in shock, but at the same time, it wasn't freaking out from being inside the crate. It looked really weak, and getting a closer look, I could tell its tail feathers were definitely in bad shape, and its backside was still red and tender. I didn't think it would be able to escape the cat if it showed up again. So I covered the crate with another towel, and I put it in the bathroom where it was quiet and dark, while I researched how to take care of baby crows. My plan was to keep it alive long enough to get some rehab if it needed it, or till it was strong enough to release outside back with its family. After a little research, I learned I could feed it some scrambled eggs and cooked rice at least twice a day at dawn or dusk for now. So I started nursing it back to health the best I could.
Something to eat, huh? Okay. Let's see if we can get you to eat here. Yeah, you're ready, huh? Okay. Okay, okay. There you go. Good birdie. Good birdie. Good birdie. Yeah, I know, I know. Give you some more. It's okay. You're doing great. You're doing great. There you go. There you go. There you go.
He's telling you to hurry up.
One more. Okay, okay, it's coming, it's coming. Here we go. There you go. Where are you supposed to put it? Sorry, my bad, I didn't get it down your throat. There we go. Good birdie, good birdie. You're such a good bird. You're such a good bird. Okay, it's coming, it's coming. There you go. Good birdie, good bird, good bird. You're so good. You're such a good bird. Okay, come on. Let's see any more. Yeah, okay, it's coming, it's coming. There you go.
Mira qué tragón.
Hmm?
I said, mira qué tragón.
You full now? No? Okay, there you go. No?
He's full now, I think.
Let me see.
Maybe it was too big, man.
Yeah? No, he's done.
No, he's done. He's still little.
Just pick up all that shit, and gotta get his tail feathers.
I'm kidding you.
That's what Do they look okay to you, or they look kind of stumpy or chewed, or?
From my side, they look chewed up.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Hold on,
Yeah.
let me get some gloves.
Hey, baby.
See how that white? See how it's still got white in his in the feathers?
I'm looking at it. I'm getting it in here.
Can you get the tail?
Oh my God, yeah, Tony.
It looks all chewed, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Can you switch it over to photo and get some pictures?
Oh, okay. Hold on.
You're okay, baby.
Oh shit. Oh, here we go.
You're okay.
No, it's taping now.
It should say photo.
No, where should it say photo?
Right next to.
The
okay,
camera's
it's okay.
there.
It's okay.
You can always chop what you don't want, right?
Press it again.
I tried not to mess with it too much. I just fed it and cleaned it and the crate each day. But other than that, I tried not to mess with it. Still, it seemed to understand I was trying to help it. You can see in the video it was quite comfortable with me picking it up and holding it in my hands while we took pictures of it. After 3 or 4 days, I could tell it was definitely getting better. It was just a lot more alert and aware of its surroundings for one, but also, when I first took it in, as you can see in the previous photos, it just sat on its backside on top of the towels. It wouldn't move even to get out of its own poop. I had to keep cleaning the feathers, like I said. You can see junk on it while it's in my hands, although some of that is food. Now, however, it would stand on its feet a lot more and walk around the box as well. Also, its backside wasn't so red and tender anymore. If you notice in the feeding video, there are white sections in its wings. I didn't know if this was damage or just still undeveloped wings, but that, plus as you can see its tail feathers are clearly shredded, still had me worried. So I continued to do some more research. Fortunately, I ended up finding a wildlife rehab center near me. I gave them a call and explained the situation. They told me it would be best if I brought it in so they could examine it properly. So the next day, I loaded it up and drove out to the wildlife center. I was kind of hoping that, best case, they would keep it until it was healthy again, and then I could bring it back home and release it back with its family. When I got there, they took little one in to examine it as I waited outside. After about 10 or 15 minutes later, a lady brought it back out and I told her the whole story. She actually complimented me on my care. She said I was doing the right things and that it looked quite healthy at this point. Finally, we discussed what the best path forward would be. She told me that its wings were still in development. That's what the white open areas on its wings were, and its tail feathers were abnormally short and damaged. But that was most likely due to it not having the strength to stand, therefore consistently sitting on its backside damaged them. She said now that it's strong enough to stand, they should grow back normally with time. Finally, she said they could keep it there, but that if they did, there would be a stronger chance of its family rejecting it, and that they would probably have to end up keeping it there at the rehab center for the rest of its life. The best course of action would be to put it back in the pepper tree. She said that little one was nice and healthy now, and that its family was still around and were most likely caring for it before the cat showed up, so they would probably continue to do so. I was hesitant. I kept picturing little one falling out of the tree next to the cat. Then I took a second to think about it. I was able to look past my own feelings and realize I had grown attached to it and was becoming a protective parent. I had to let it go. She reassured me that this was the best course of action, and she's the expert and cares about animals, so I agreed that that was what I would do. She gave me back little one and ran back inside. She came back out with a woven basket and a bungee cord to use as a surrogate nest. I took the basket, thanked her for her help, and headed home. When I got home, I pulled out a ladder and set the basket in the tree as high as I comfortably could reach. I took little one and placed it inside. It seemed to settle in like it was someplace familiar. After a few minutes though, a pigeon landed on a branch a few feet above the basket. Little one jumped up and chased after it. The pigeon flew away and Little one instinctively launched after it. Of course, the fledgling fell straight to the ground. I scooped it back up and put it back in the basket. This time it stayed there for a minute or two before it got antsy and hopped out of the basket and headed for the top of the tree. It climbed up until the branch it was on ended and it stayed there. It ended up staying in the same spot for the rest of the day. I was still a bit worried because it had been very hot and it was at the top of the tree with no shade. But a few days later it was still alive, which meant its parents were still taking care of it. Then the next day after that, I found it on the far side of the tree, which meant it was now able to hop from branch to branch. About a week later, I got these pictures of it strutting back and forth on top of the fence. The day after that, I saw it on the ground. Then a few seconds later, I noticed it was back on the top of the fence again. Then later that same day, I saw its parents feeding it on the same spot. Then about a week later, I got this picture of it on top of the picnic table. It still wasn't fully flying yet, but I did see it fluttering from tree to tree. This is the last picture I ever took of it. This is maybe a month after the last picture. You can see it here on the top of the tree waiting for its parents to come and feed it. Actually, I would continue to hear its parents feeding it at certain points throughout the day for at least another month after this. I would still see it from time to time. I saw it learning how to forage a couple times. The adults would crack open nuts or whatever they were eating with precision, while Little One would play with it, push it around, and then knock it off the roof or the fence or whatever they were standing on. Then sometimes I would walk outside while the whole murder would be in a certain spot. As soon as they would see me, they would all make warning calls and fly away. All except one, the littlest one, who would sit in the same spot, watching me approach, and just look at me like, "Hey, what's up?" All while the adults were screaming warnings at it to fly away. Eventually, I lost track of it. I couldn't tell it apart from the others anymore. The family is still around, so I assume so is Little One, but as I said, I can't tell it apart anymore. So I can only hope I helped it live a long and fruitful crow life.